Howdy, generals. Retiring Wagwan for this week. We were in the nice state of Texas, where actually, the first thing that happened when I landed, Amanda screamed, "Yo, Wagwan!" And I was like, "What? Like, where am I?" It was Jay Cristiano picking me up from the airport, and he screamed Wagwan across the thing. So that was a nice intro to Texas. So howdy, y'all. You're gonna see a really familiar or unfamiliar face, depending on whether you know his online or in-person presence. We have the one and only James, aka Alloutblitzle. How's it going, bro?
I guess pretty good. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting weekend. But yeah, doing good. Happy to be on here.
Awesome, man. So yeah, it's like I actually didn't know your real name until this weekend, which is hilarious. I didn't even know. I had no clue.
I mean, I don't blame you. Not really anyone did.
Well, now
Yeah,
you've made
like
a name for
even
yourself, man. Now you're not just Alloutblitzle. It's like now you're James.
yeah, bro. Even like calling you James makes me feel like I'm like using your like federal government name. It's like I'm just being an op.
Yeah,
So
Oh,
what do you prefer? You prefer Blitzel or
I
James?
don't. I don't
What
care.
both
I
are?
don't really care.
All right, I'm gonna hit you with the Blitzel because it makes me feel less oppy, less like
All
I'm on
right,
the clock.
let's go.
sweet. So yeah, okay, I'll use James. That I feel like it's more natural for me.
That
So James, why don't you introduce yourself for everybody? You can introduce your online persona, but also like let us know about you as a person. So maybe people might not know about you outside of the Blitzel.
So yeah, I'm James Kowalski, aka Alloutblitzle. I play a lot of online tournaments. That's probably where most people know me, recognize me. I've been basically spamming Pidgeot Control in online tournaments for like close to a year straight. I've been playing the Pokemon trading card game as a whole for like 10 years, all the way through juniors, now in Masters. Um, yeah, I was known for being a top 128 merchant in Masters, but I guess that's no longer a thing, which is kind of cool. Um, yeah, I pretty much just play Poke. I don't really have anything else like fun. Just play a lot of Pokemon.
I mean, hey,
um,
Pokemon's a fun game, man. I mainly just play a lot of Pokemon too. So
oh yeah,
cool. So I kind of want to start off here with like the online stuff. So you've got to put up your Limitless. You were doing some online series during COVID.
oh
So you've
yeah.
always been an online grinder. So why don't we start with how do you feel like playing online compares to playing in person? So I know a lot of people like they say onlines are Mickeys or whatever. Like it doesn't
Oh yeah.
translate. So do you think online play helps you become a better player? And like how do you think it helps translate to real tournaments?
If I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it really like if we're just talking about like playing a limitless tournament, I don't think it helps very much at all. Like for a while, I thought like I was way ahead of the curve, spamming Mickey's. Like I was going to become the goat by just playing an online tournament every night. But honestly, like I don't think it's a coincidence that this is my best IRL finish, and it's also the least I played online tournaments. Like playing lots and lots of ladder instead. Um, like yeah, it's not. It's fine. The quality of play isn't always what you'd like, but it's like a lot more fun than playing ladder. You actually feel like you're like playing for something, which is kind of cool. But if you're actually like looking at it as like I'm gonna play this and get better at the game, then it's definitely not the most efficient way to do things. But it's still cool. I like
Would you
online.
say Would you say then it kind of like balances out like the whole idea of like all reps are good reps is kind of balanced out with the idea that you're playing against worse opponents, so your reps are kind of I don't know imploding
Yeah,
themselves. Yeah.
yeah, and then also like just that if we're looking at like a sheer volume standpoint, we're playing like one game in half an hour. Like that kind of sucks, especially
Mm,
if it's one very low quality game in half an hour. Like if I play ladder or against myself or real life, like we can play more than two games in an hour. So yeah, I
gotcha.
Okay. Do you think though maybe someone who's like maybe newer or not as skilled yet, do you think online tournaments make more sense for them? Because I get like if you play
um
ladder now and you're high elo, like you're gonna start playing really good players all the time.
yeah.
But I guess like if you're not like that level yet, like online tournaments maybe like let you play against people who are more close to your skill level. Do you think that has
Yeah, I think one thing in online tournaments favor is like you have to play a lot of ladder to get to the point where it's significantly better than online's, and a lot of people just don't have time for that. Like maybe they just want to like hop into Mickey like after work or whatever and just play a few rounds and then go to bed. Like that's fine if you don't have hours a day to play ladder. Then I guess that's kind of fair. Um, but yeah, I think it's fine. Like people love to hate on them, and I think honestly it's somewhere in the middle where they're not totally irrelevant, but also they're not like people take like the early format online results way too seriously and be like, oh my gosh, this deck's broken, it's winning all the Mickeys, everyone's playing it, and it's like it's not that serious.
Yeah, well, I mean, there
Yeah.
is some like I know the Fernandez brothers played a lot of online tournaments. I know, like I see a lot of people who do
Yeah.
well. Like I always see their name in the online tournaments. So, I mean, if you're a good player in real life, I assume you'll do well in online tournaments as
Yeah.
well. So I do think they're probably still helpful. But like you said, like it's not as many games as you can by just grinding up the ladder. And once you get to high elo ladder, like the average player is probably better than what you'll play in a tournament.
Yeah.
So okay. So then,
And also, I think like COVID era onlines were way better than modern onlines because like there were so many top players playing in them. So like you could actually just like in a random Mickey and play like Gabriel Fernandez round 2 and Vinny round 7 or something. Like that was like a real possibility. But like now a lot less
Yeah.
higher tier players playing them, so it kind of doesn't
I was
feel
gonna
as good as it
say,
used to.
yeah, I was gonna say as well. Like, I don't personally know anybody who plays in online tournaments anymore.
Yeah.
Like, nobody in my groups at all plays in online tournaments, and I think that's just like a factor of like locals being back too, right? And locals has
Yeah.
to kind of be a grind. So when you're in the mood to play a tournament, you're probably just gonna drive to the store and play locals. I think it's kind of what people are at now, right?
yeah, I think we're also older, Neil. So people who have like have jobs or like more responsibilities, so it's like they don't have time to play
No
during
need
the
to age
day.
us, bro.
That's
No need to
crazy.
age us.
See, I don't have a
No.
job or responsibility. I feel insulted.
Yeah, we almost had to get a permission slip for him to even be on the pod.
Bro, that's crazy.
Scary hours.
Yeah.
I'm glad you see you're like the perfect podcast though, because like you've watched us in the past, right? So you know like kind of how unserious we are, and you fit our brand so perfectly. It's great.
Nice. Okay, so you said so you do obviously play a lot of online tournaments, even if you said like maybe like it varies in degrees of usefulness. So how do you think it's translated then to IRL play? So like what are the differences between playing IRL and online, and like what from online have you taken away to help you improve your in-person performance?
I think like in online, obviously everything is open list, which kind of goes both ways. Like for me, playing a deck like Control, a lot of people love to just like label it as like, oh well, you know exactly how many switch outs your opponent has. That's a pretty big advantage. When in like reality, it's not really true because like most decks are pretty stock. So like it's not like I'm gonna hit a Reggie Drago and they're gonna randomly be playing another switch. Like everyone's playing one switch, one prime catcher. So like in that regard, it's like in kind of a disadvantage because like there's so many different cards that Control can play. Like this weekend, I had quite a few moments where like my opponent wasn't expecting me to have a card in my deck that I did, which potentially changed some games. So in some ways, I think it makes Control worse. But then also like in terms of like overall play, I noticed when I was like playing a lot more closed list stuff like ladder and in person. Like when you can see your opponent's list, you're like, well, they have a boss left. I can't win. I'll just pack it up. Like, but if you're like actually like playing closed lists, I felt like it was easier to maybe like think of the game and like, well, I can win the game if this card and that card aren't available to them, or like this string of events happens. Where if it's like right in front of you, it almost was like, well, it's right there. I can't do anything about it. Or at least for me, it just kind of felt like it was easier to have like a different mentality, if that makes sense.
Okay. So
Makes
who
sense.
who do you think has a bigger advantage, Control or your opponent in like open list? Or
it's definitely the opponent, and people are going to say like, bro, he's biased. Like there's of course the Control player is saying the Control deck is better in person, but like in like the top 4 game I had stream against Henry, like when I put down the Latios, he thought I was like 4 cards away from retreat luck, when in reality I was just 2 because I had the Latios in hand. Like yeah, it's like especially with like a list like mine that was like pretty non-standard. There's just a lot of cards that can like kind of just swing games if your opponent's not playing around them. So like it is definitely IRL, but people love to hate on open list Control. When in reality, it's just like the players are worse. So like,
yeah,
of course, a deck that preys on lower skill players does better in an environment of more low skill players.
So
yeah, it checks out.
How many games would you say you won this weekend because your opponent like got completely caught off guard?
That is a good question. I definitely won my round 2 against Ancient Box because Lost City is a funny card. Let's see.
Maybe we can through the list as well after.
Yeah.
I'll pull up your matchups actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like honestly like for like probably 3, 4, 5 games, honestly, which pretty big, I would say. Like the Latios especially is like the MVP like card that nobody expected, because like nobody thinks you're like just 2 cards away from turn 1 retreat lock, or turn 1 Fang Snipe. So that card caught so many people by surprise, and even if it didn't directly win me the game, it like was a pretty big contributor.
Nice. Actually, I have a funny story about open list before we move on. I was standing next to like Henry Chow when like standings went up, and he was playing Asim, and he paired into Moffat, and Nick comes up and is like, "Do you want to do open list, Henry?" And then Henry's like, "Okay, sure." And then they show each other the list, and like Moffat just reveals that he doesn't play Jamming Tower or Cologne. So I'm like, well, why would you ever do this? So I'm like, this is like the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals.
Yeah.
So
there's like some Trump tariffs on Canada stuff going on.
So I don't know, Moffat taking too much inspiration from his goat, I guess. But
yeah, for real.
Yeah, so that was just funny to me, just random like open list story, because like I feel like Henry could play different than that matchup, like just knowing that like Drifloon's never going down. He doesn't have to worry about his like getting Ciaran later in the game. So just like an interesting point as we were talking, I was thinking about, I'm like, oh, that is an example of where like open list completely changes how you play. So yeah,
great job, Moffat.
Yeah.
Maybe before we hop in, we can give our like reviews on San Antonio, because on Shift Gear we love to review regional cities and piss off that one guy from Peoria. So let's get into that real quick. All right, boys. What are we thinking? I'll start with you, Blitzle. What are you thinking of San Antonio, Texas, as a regional city?
And to be honest, I wasn't really outside all that much. Like I got in at like 10 p.m. and yeah, like the food was good. I had like we ate at like this taco place, and it was like really good. Got some good coffee. Riverwalk is nice, but honestly, and the weather's way warmer than here in the great state of Kansas, so can't complain.
We're yeehawing too much outdoors, eh? A little bit too much Pokemon. Okay, I hear you. Ciaran, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I love Mexican food, so San Antonio is like better than most regional cities for me.
Okay.
Yeah, the Riverwalk is fine. It's like nice. Yeah, it was just like fun. It was a decent city. It's better than I think it's the American cities I've been to this year for regionals. I'd say it's probably the best one. The venue was a bit small. Like we were definitely pushing it there. Also the weather was like way colder than I thought it was going to be. It was like almost the same weather as Toronto, which is kind of crazy. So
where would you put it on our Shift Gear tier list of regional cities?
Probably like B tier, just getting carried by the Mexican food.
Okay. I'm coming from a different place, a different perspective here. I think it's like A tier. It's an A tier city. That was like some of the most fun I've had in a city in a long time. The Riverwalk was so cool. Going out, just like being able to walk around. The weather's nice. People are really scared of the cold there, which is kind of funny. It was like 12 degrees Celsius, and everyone's like bundled up in their like goose jackets and stuff, which I thought was no jokes. Yeah, but honestly, the city's so fun, and like even everyone who came with me, it was their first time as well, and we all sat there and we're like, okay, we will be coming back next year. So for anyone who's on the fence about San Antonio, definitely go next year if you can. I did a little vlog, maybe I'll throw it in at the end of this video too, where I just went around by myself and kind of explored stuff. So
nice.
We did have a great time, and unfortunately, Blitzle was too busy winning $5 grand to pay attention to the outdoors. But maybe we'll start there. Would you be able to walk us through your list, maybe, and kind of show us some of the maybe more unorthodox choices and kind of explain them?
And in a Shift Gear first, there is 6 rows on the Limitless image. When I clicked it, I had to like zoom out to fit it all on the page. So yeah, there's like a crazy amount of cards in here. So you describe to us like the thought process of how you like got here, and then you just call out like certain stuff you think is interesting or unintuitive.
Yeah.
So leading up to this tournament, I was like mostly playing with like a secret box list, like kind of like what Liam Halliburton played at, or got top 8 in Toronto, like Liam's Toad School list, kind of like that. But I had like 58 cards I felt really good about, and I had like 6 tech cards that I wanted to play, but like I didn't fit them all, and it was like, well, I want to tech for all these decks, but I kind of can't. And the meta feels so wide that like kind of want to be able to beat like 10 to 12 decks to do well in the tournament. And then the Sandra Trolley list came out, and it's like, well, now I can just cut consistency cards, still be consistent, and play even more techs. I can play like 32 1-ups or whatever it is. So yeah, I was not a fan of some of the cards in Sanders' list. Like I'm not like a big believer in the stage ones of like Toadscruel and Milotic. I just felt like Milotic's basically just for Guardy, which I felt was kind of already fine. I only hit one in the tournament. That was top 4, so that was kind of sad. And then Toadscruel really just for Drago, but I went like 5-1 in games versus Drago. So yeah, don't need the Toad. It's fine. And really, like, it's a lot of the staple control stuff, like the Retreat Lockers, the Black Hero, Luxray, Ursaluna, Lecky, like all those wonderful people. The Latios was like I guess I've already talked about it a little bit, but that was like one of the best cards in the deck. Like with the trolley, to just be way closer to the turn 1 like Retreat Lock or Fang Snipe, just super important. Like especially against Drago, like you have to like Retreat Lock at 6. If you ever do that, you just insta win. So just like being able to like you're like Arvin for trolley, get your Genesect and your tool card and your switch effect basically is just kind of nuts. Yeah, really like a lot of the other stuff is like kind of just control cards. Like I guess the Radiant Czarina got a lot of questions because that was like kind of seen as like this goes with the Milotic and the Milotic is not here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of fixes some weird math in the Drago and Guardian matchup. Like one of Drago's favorite plays, if they ever can like go on odd prizes, like they take the first one on maybe a Pidgey, and like best case scenario, you retreat lock them back. So normally they couldn't win the game. Like they can go switch take two, but as long as you can just maintain retreat locks, they kind of can't win. But one play they can do is they can go like 5 on Genesect with Phantom Dive and 10 on like Fez. You don't always have time to penny, so then they could go like boss next turn, jamming tower, take 3 prizes, and yeah, there's really not a whole lot you could do about that because there's not a ton of time to play pennies. So Czarina fixes that situation. Lets you trap like Squawkabilly, Monkey Dory, a lot easier because playing pennies over and over is annoying. Yeah, it doesn't also like helps like random situations where like your Mimikyu has a vest on, is getting poked, or your opponent's trying to line up like a Pidgeot 2-shot. It's pretty good for that. Yeah, the supporters are all pretty standard, I guess. The flute, the A-spec flute gets disrespected all the time, but that card's broken. It was nearly generational in finals, but I choked, or in top 4, but whatever.
Well, I didn't watch the games. It almost hit like everything.
So it hit Manaphy, so it forced the second Turo, and I Leckied it back, but I did it a turn too early. I needed to Palpad the turn first to get back my bosses, because then my Pidgeot died and it was like over. But
so is the flute literally just a like my opponent? I need like a chance to get something, like I'm losing this game unless I hit something. Is it like kind of like a break glass in case of emergency card, or?
Not really. It's just like decks, like especially Guardy and Drago. They have so many discard effects, so they love to just keep their trappables out of their hands. So it's just like another way to like force that retreat lock win con. And also this deck's like pretty good at just breaking out your opponent. Like we have a lot of cards that interact with the hand. Really, anytime we can break the opponent out, it can sometimes feel kind of weird because we can't really like aggressively like start knocking stuff out a lot of the time. And if their hand's dead, like Luxray's no good. So if you ever like get your opponent in a spot where their hand's just totally dead, you can just like Lucky and spam the flute over and over again and just fill up their bench with a bunch of, like if I would have played against you, Ciaran, I would have just spammed the flute to get your bench full of stuff of non-Archeops. I'd KO your solo chops or whatever, and then I'd spam Yakumo every time. But unfortunately, the quad thorns happened.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I'd still be
one
favored.
question.
I don't know, bro.
No.
All right, we might need to have an Alloutblitzle Ciaran money match.
Yo, get the Azul money match in here.
All right, yo, you hit him up. Get it going. I'll do it.
So get the y'all can just fist fight instead if you want. So one question I think most people have, like especially newer players, is the question I hear a lot is how does this deck win games? So you've alluded to the fact that you can't really aggressively knock out. You have some retreat lockers, stuff like that. Would you be able to maybe quickly go over the top 5 decks or whatever and kind of say quick strategies about how you beat them? Like I think people would be really interested in hearing that.
So if like anyone asked me like, hey, how does this deck work? How do you win? Like I think the easy way to explain it is we're just trying to win the game with one of our 3 different like sweeping options. Like we're trying to set up a board state where either retreat lock is unbeatable, we can wall it with Mimikyu because we outrun all our opponent's Mimikyu answers, or we can sweep with Blood Moon, and just penny loop that over and over again because they have nothing that one shots it. So like as I guess looking at the meta as a or just as talk English is hard. Yeah, in general, we're just like trying to create a board state where one of those things can win. This list is pretty heavily weighted towards retreat lock. Like there's the double retreat locker, there's the Erica, the flute, all that stuff. So into like Gardevoir and Regidrago, we are really just trying to retreat lock over and over again. Like Regidrago, like I kind of alluded to earlier, we're trying to like retreat lock at 6 prizes. So then they can go like switch, take 2, E-star to get back their switch and take 2, but then they can't take their last 2, so we would just win. Gardevoir is kind of the same thing. We're just trying to just retreat lock them over and over again, get them to burn their turros, eventually either just like get something active that can't attack or just spread out all their energies. So there's, even if the Pokemon active technically has an attack that does a decent amount of damage, they just don't have the energies for it. Charizard was devoing over and over again. Raging Bolt is kind of like the same thing as Drago, where it's retreat locking over and over again. It's just kind of like retreat lock deck, and we have like other funny stuff if the opponent wants to think they're smart and gonna go like one Pokemon in play and be like, what are you gonna do about it? And you're like, okay, Blood Moon, Iono, GG.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
okay.
And then just like, yeah.
Cool. I mean, what does your turn 1 look like? So you played the Trolley and you kind of alluded to like this Latios. So like, is your turn 1 literally like Trolley for like Latios, then just like Luxray or Retreat Lock, depending on what's in the active? Is that the idea?
Well, usually it's kind of bad to go in with some kind of attack turn 1 because like if we're attacking, we're not using instant charge. If we're not instant charging, we're not setting up Pidgeot. So even if we snipe really good stuff or trap something, or if our board kind of sucks, eventually they're just going to draw out of it, kill our active, and we kind of lose. So I have to be a little careful about it. Like Arvin for Trolley is really good. But it's most of the time going to be like Pidgey, Rotom, Genesect, whether matches specific things we need. And then we're just instant charging, waiting to set up the Pidgeot, and then going into our attackers and stuff. If our hand's like especially good, like we already have Candy Pidgeot, like ready to go, like then we can go for like the turn 1 Luxray or Retreat Lock play. But most of the time we have to play a little more conservatively. Yeah, just use Rotom. That card's pretty good.
Yeah, so I know in your top 4 match you couldn't use Rotom, so I'm sure that probably
made it
very hard. Okay. I guess one other question I have for you is, how much of a difference do you find when you play against really skilled opponents versus like less skilled opponents? Like how much of an edge do you think you have against maybe like just an average person versus like a top player?
Well, honestly, like there are like some like against people who are maybe not as good at the game, it almost really doesn't matter what tech cards they play. Like if they just don't play the matchup correctly, like they're gonna lose. Like one of my favorite stories, this like at NAIC, I was playing like Raging Bolt had like the Cornerstone Ogerpon that people were playing, and then that card sucked. But like our gameplay was Mimikyu, so like we couldn't really beat that. But like I had someone who had Cornerstone, like an extra switch, like an E-hammer, and 2 Lost Vacuums, and maybe like an extra boss or something. I don't remember. And like I still won because they like just didn't know what to do. So like you get a lot of free wins by people just not knowing what to do, and it's not just the early rounds. Like even later in the day, like my last round, the winning's top 8. I'm playing against Drago, and my opponent shoved Cleffa active turn 1. So I was able to retreat lock that thing and win the game. So
nice.
Yeah, like I had like there are people in day 2 who say like, yeah, I've never played against Pidgeot before. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a huge advantage, honestly, that like people just half the time have like never played a game against this style of deck. And like you said, like they don't even know what the heck's going on inside the deck, so
yeah.
A follow-up question I had was, do you ever find yourself, and you played Pidgeot for a long time, so maybe this is a question that you dealt with a lot earlier in your Pidgeot career, but do you find that it's hard to close games out sometimes, especially if you achieve the retreat lock, stuff like that? Like, do you get timed out a lot? Is that an issue that you have to worry about?
I think it is, but I just kind of naturally play pretty fast. I've been told multiple times I play way too fast for a control player. Like I'm pretty sure like out of like the 6 or 7 majors I've played control, I've only had like 2 or 3 1-0s. Like it's definitely not optimal, but like just win 2-0, I guess. Yeah, but like I had a couple games in this tournament where I was in good positions, but like you just can't finish it. Like it's something that does happen. Like kind of no matter how fast you play, like you can't play 3 30-minute games.
Yeah, that's fair.
I hear you.
Oh. Well, I guess my other thing is like how bad is prizing for this deck? Because like you said, you play a 32 1-ofs. A lot of them you can't pull from the prizes, and your deck doesn't take prizes till late in the game. So how big of an issue is that if you play a deck like this?
Love to just chalk games up to prizes, and it's kind of annoying, honestly, because like I prized double Pidgeot twice this weekend, and I won both games. Like I kind of just want to say it's a skill issue, but like I don't want to be that guy. It is like it's certainly a problem. Like there are cards you need in certain matchups, and not having them kind of sucks. But like what's cool about this deck is it is so flexible, and you have a lot of different ways. Like you have cards that like do similar things. So like even if like the Erica's prize in the matchup, we need like we have the Flute or like Ares prize, we still have effects like Luxray and Sisters that can sort of do a similar thing. So it's really just gets problematic when like multiple of a similar effect are prized, and then you can't use either one of them. Like you prize like Luxray and Heavy Ball, or both your boss, or both your Pidgeot. Like then it's like you're just totally out of one option.
Okay, so that makes sense actually. Like a lot of the cards kind of complement each other, or like they're one's like a budget version of the other one. So okay, cool.
Yeah, like you'd think a deck with this many 1-0s would be losing the prizing a lot, but I'm like this weekend I only had one game that just felt unplayable because of the prizes. I prized Luxray, Mimikyu, and Heavy Ball, and I was like, well, I kind of just can't do anything.
Yeah, it sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
So I guess my follow-up question would be, how does this do in Prismatic Evolution format? Do you find that it's gaining a lot? Have you looked into it at least?
I haven't really looked into it a lot, but a lot of people have been bothering me about it. So, I think it's an interesting spot because like what's it called? Dragapult's been a historically pretty solid matchup, and that being very, very popular is quite nice. Lugia not playing as many Minchinos is awesome. Like Regidrago has previously like eaten up a lot of your tech slots, and that deck doesn't appear to be as strong. Like I'm sure it's still going to be popular, but not nearly as popular as it was. So I think it'll be all right. Just the main problem is Badoo, and really any Arven deck not having its items is kind of scary. So I think if there's an easy answer to the Badoo problem, the deck seems quite well positioned. But if getting item lock turn 2 is indeed very bad, then the deck might be cooked.
Yeah, we're gonna start seeing Grand Tree Pidgeot or something.
Bro, no, Trolley and Box are too good. If I have to play Grand Tree in my deck, I would just not play Pidgeot. I'm not that committed.
Yeah. So all right, well you'll cook it up, and you'll have to give the master class on Pidgeot once you figure out what it is. So
yeah.
Cool. I guess my last question here is: are there any cards in the list where you're like, oh, I didn't need it this weekend, or there's any cards you're like, oh, they should have been in the list this weekend?
I don't think so. Like I didn't use Devo at all, but also, cause I didn't have any swords.
Okay.
So that's, I guess, yeah, like likely to hit a Zard, so yeah, that's fine. Also, I didn't use Black Kirimanol, but that's kind of weird because I think that's just because like a lot of my Drago opponents threw.
Always nice.
So yeah, like even though I didn't technically use it, like you should still play it. Just hopefully you, yeah. I don't know if you want to play against better Dragos and have to use it, but yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. So okay, so yeah, I guess we can move on then. We can go through your run. So I just pulled up your tweet here, your matchup. So you actually started 8-0, and you went 16-1 in individual games. So what was happening here? Was this just you were setting up, you were just playing good Pokemon, like good matchups? How did you get off to start that good?
Well, 3 of those are just auto wins. Like the Snorlax player scoop before matchups got handed out. Those are 2 Iron Thorns without canceling Cologne. So Mimikyu just comes down, wins the game. Ancient Box is just a horrible deck. So like 4 pretty easy wins. And like you get like the round 1 Pokedad. So yeah, it was just like everything was kind of going right. Like I was setting up well, good matchups. My opponents, of course, helped me out a little bit. Yeah, like I only lost that game against Cloth because like I took 4 prizes, or he took 4 prizes before my deck could really do anything, and that was kind of sad. But yeah, it was just deck was working pretty good. Like I had like my only bad hand the whole tournament was in top 4, or game 2 of top 4. Like the deck is just really, really consistent. So especially if you're gonna have people like give you free opportunities to just win the game by making a mistake, like as long as your deck's functioning, you should be able to capitalize on that. So I do have a kind of funny story in my round 5. I like prized Aerie and Sisters game 1 against Drago, which is pretty bad. But I managed to like retreat luck at 6 because he randomly didn't retreat his Mew EX. I managed to win that game, and then game 2, he draws an extra card off of a restart, like turn 2, and he just scoops. Like the DPL
Nice.
probably doesn't even matter, but bro just does not want to play any more poke. So.
Well, cause I guess you have to Blood Moon twice, I guess. So interesting.
Yeah, like
okay.
it's okay, but like get a scoop off a DPL was kind of wild. I had to ask him like, bro, are you sure? Like what?
So he's kind of freed up there. Nice.
Yeah, a lot of people like probably rage quit, right? So you get a lot of
Yeah.
like free random wins.
Okay. So what happened between rounds 9 to 11? So we had 3 ties back to back, and they all started with a loss in game 1. So what was going on there?
So what's funny about the round 9 game, and I didn't learn this until after the fact, but Stratford did not play Mimikyu answer. So bodied by closed list. If I was open list, easy 2-0. Yeah, it was just like the Bolt matchup is really, really close normally. So just some close games. No time for game 3. I had atrocious prizes game 1 against the Palkia Noctowl. He had pretty bad prizes game 2. No time for game 3. And I feel like we should have finished round 11, but my opponent was not interested in finishing a game and really liked to check my discard pile, even though no new cards were being added.
The classic.
But it is what it is.
So actually, that's another question I'm gonna ask you. But how do you handle like time? Like, do you have to ask your opponents to like speed up a lot? Do you have to call judges all the time with the stack? Like,
I have not had to ever call a judge on someone at a major. I definitely should have round 11. I was just a little frustrated, to be honest, and the DPL, like even if you get the DPL for slow play, like doesn't do anything for me because like if he had taken a couple prizes at that point, if I ever go aggressive, I just lose. I have to just keep this lock because it wins me the game. So I didn't want to call a judge and then like potentially like not even get anything out of it, waste even more time. But yeah, I don't usually have issues with people, and maybe that's just because like they don't want to slow play against me because they know that I would call them out. But yeah, most of the time people are chill.
Okay. So how do you bounce back? If you start 8-0, then you tie 3 in a row. So now all of a sudden you have to win your last 3 rounds. Were you like sweating a little bit after all these ties, or how were you feeling after that?
I was pretty mad after the round 11 because I had the game on the board and my opponent just was not a fan of that. So yeah, I was definitely kind of frustrated, but I like the bracket was so good. I wasn't like all that worried about it, and then like I just drew the hottest I drew all day against that Turbo Moon in round 12. Like he hit like all tails on his catchers. I lost City his patch. Game 2, he chooses to go second. I open Trolley. He judges and whiff Squawk. Like everything was going right. And then yeah, I was like, I hate the Drago matchup. So when I saw I was hitting that in my winner, and I was like pretty mad because like it's just such a stupid matchup. Like it's kind of luck based. They draw their cards in the right order. They're going to be fine if you can kind of cheese them with a flute or an ARE or sisters or something. Then it's okay. But my opponent kind of helped me out a little bit, and it wasn't as sweaty as I thought it would be.
Okay. So then going into top 8, like what were you feeling? Did you feel like you had a chance to win? Was the bracket looking good? Like what was the thought process going into that?
So I had 3 auto wins in ASIM. I had the Raging Bolts, I had a stall, and I had Grant's Pidgeot Control list. So like I was feeling pretty good. I really just did not want to play against a certain later to be named Gardevoir player because I knew he had Spiritomb in his list, and I was not a fan of that. And also I didn't want to like Shemansky's Devo and Silene shenanigans to not seem all that appealing. But I was feeling pretty good. Like I was in bracket of one of the auto wins, so I was like, all right, I just need him to beat the Reggie Drago, and then I feel like I could probably win the tournament. I just needed a little help. But yeah, I felt really good. Like dodging ASIM was awesome, and then just standing around for like 2 hours was like really, really cool.
Yeah, I remember Baltimore. I had to wait 2.5 hours between my first top cut match and top 4.
Yeah, it was funny because like all like the ASIM game in my side of the bracket went to time. Like they were already playing the other top 8 game. Like one of the top 8 games was already done because the Snorlax guy got double donked. Like I'm just standing there waiting, and like all of Nathan's like locals are cheering him on like 2 tables down, and I'm like standing there too. Like I was Nathan's #1 supporter for an hour. I really wanted to see him get that dub. But yeah, it was kind of annoying. I was like so locked in, and then I had to like stand around.
Yeah, get you out of you got iced kind of. So okay, so what happened in your top 8 match? So did he play a Mimikyu counter? I assume so because he lost one of the games.
No.
Oh.
No. It was like the dumbest set of poke I've probably ever played. I won the flip, chose seconds, opened Trolley, he scooped. Game 2, he chooses first. I open the mini on draw pass, or he chooses second. I open the mini on draw pass. So then we're headed to game 3. Like 2 minutes have passed, total in the whole set.
Okay.
In game 3, I draw my opening 7, put down my prizes, and I throw a shooting heavy ball and a nest ball on the table, and he picks up his cards. So it's pretty cool.
That's crazy.
So we were over in like 4. The whole set was done in like 4 minutes and 37 seconds.
Bro, I wish they streamed that game. Can you imagine?
But that would have been so funny. It would have been so funny.
That's
but
classic. Yeah, that tournament, like overall felt really slow to me. I don't know if it felt really slow to you guys too. Like it just felt like there was I don't know, a little inefficient.
I can't even remember, to be honest.
I don't know. A lot of my rounds were pretty fast, so.
Day 1 we got out at like 8 something. I think it was like 8:30, 8:45 or something. No, we've been getting out pretty early.
Well, it was 9 rounds though versus 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even at what was it? I think Baltimore.
So I felt like wasn't Louisville kind of like a similar time with one last round?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was, but it's Louisville, Kentucky, so I had nothing to enjoy outside of the venue. I wasn't really excited to leave.
Louisville slander will not be tolerated.
No, on this podcast it is.
Everything's fair game on this podcast. You can come on and say Toronto sucks, and we just have to deal with it.
No,
it is what it is.
Not what I won't stand for.
It's all fair game. All fair game. So all right, here we go.
Toronto's fine.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you go.
It's just
Thank
fine.
you, man.
Just
Oh, he said
fine.
fire.
I don't want
to
get kicked off.
He said fire, bro.
Just end call.
Okay, so going to top 4, facing Henry. Henry plays Spiritomb, obviously. So did you think you were cooked, or you're like, no, I can still win even though there's a Spiritomb in there?
So I didn't. Since I got in super fast, like they paired both top 8s at the same time, and it was like a Guardian Mirror on the other side. So they took forever also. And I was really hoping Neo would win because I knew he had no Spiritomb. But asking Henry to lose to Guardian Mirror probably wasn't the most realistic thing. So they they called me back to like the stream room, and they didn't tell me who I was going to be up against yet because I wasn't really like standing like right in the area where they were playing. I'm like asking the judge like who I'm going to play against, and they're like, "Oh, just turn around." And then I see Henry, I'm like, "Ah, crap, that kind of sucks." I mean, I knew I had a chance. I just needed to like be able to play the game, and yeah, it's fine. Like as long as my deck works, the matchup's okay. It's just like asking my deck to work, especially going first, is not really that reasonable. Like,
so you have to pick first so you can Spiritomb right now?
No, I called second game 2. Okay. Because like the problem is like you go first and you're pretty likely to whiff turn 1 Pidgey, and then he evos and then is just able to like scream tail chase Pidgey like every turn of the game after that. So like I'd rather just take my chance that like even if he puts on Spiritomb going first, like ideally that's just one Ralts. His board's not all that strong. I open like Trolley or something, or Arvin Trolley, get my board set up and can be all right. But yeah, it didn't exactly work out that way. Not quite how we drew it up.
Nice. Okay, well, I mean, still like an amazing run. Top 4. So that's your first top cut in Master. So how does that feel? Is that like a monkey off your back type of situation? Like you're beating the top 128 allegations? Like how does that feel?
I don't know, because like I put in so much time for this tournament, and it just like hasn't really like hit me at all. Like I don't know. Like it's weird because like my finish before this weren't that good, or they weren't as good as I knew they could be, and it just like felt like I was finally able to like put together a run that actually kind of matched the quality of player that I've always known that I am. So like, I mean, it still feels awesome, of course, but I don't know. Like people kept bringing up like, "Yo, you finally beat the online allegations," all this stuff, and it's like,
that's crazy.
I knew it was gonna happen eventually. Like I was never worried about it, but a lot of people were very happy, so that was cool.
Nice.
How are you gonna spend your 5Gs when you get it in like 6 to 8 business months?
That's a good. I don't know.
Haven't thought that far ahead.
No, I have not thought that far ahead. I was gonna try to make some kind of joke about being a little kid, but I couldn't think of one. So
yeah, that's true. Actually, I'm sure you have some field trips coming up or something.
Yeah,
you can use it towards. Maybe you bling out your Pidgey deck.
I gotta go to summer camp or something.
Yeah. Still in a learning period. His frontal lobe still developing.
That's crazy.
So I mean, hey, now you have that top 4. Now it's not anymore this like merchant stuff. Now it's like you can try and win. So this is hopefully like the start of like the start of something great for you. So awesome. So anything else you want to talk about your tournament round, about your list before we move on?
I don't think so.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered everything.
Awesome. So actually, Aneil, I have a really good "Am I in the wrong" this week.
All right.
Oh,
And it's actually coming from me. I'm the person submitting it, and it's "Am I in the wrong?" Actually, unironically.
All right, so you're definitely in the wrong. Like 100%. I don't even need to hear it.
Okay, so I was playing around this weekend, and we like rolled, right? And I won the flip. And like you always pick first blind with Lugia. But as my opponent was shuffling, they like completely mishandled their cards, like you know, like when cards just go flying everywhere. And like they dropped Roaring Moon EX. So I'm like, well, now I know my opponent's playing Roaring Moon, and I'm supposed to go second. So I was like, oh man, like do I pick second now? Is that bad? Like unethical because I know he's playing now. So I ended up picking second, and I'm like, I think it was fine. My opponent even said, like, yeah, just pick second, it's fine. So I was like, okay. But I'm like, am I in the wrong for picking second? Because my opponent leaked what they were playing.
So I just want to make sure I have the timeline correct. So you flipped a coin.
Yeah.
You won the toss. You said I'm gonna go first, and then
No,
like
I didn't pick.
that.
I didn't pick yet. I didn't pick yet.
Oh,
Like I didn't like switch what I was picking. I didn't go like, oh, I'm actually going second now. No, you can't do that.
yeah. You know I want to dog on you for being in the wrong, but that's definitely not. You
Okay, yeah,
you
that's
didn't even
what.
say anything.
Yeah. So, because yeah, I feel like I wasn't like look at this guy's cards. He literally just like spilt his cards and it came out. So I was like, okay, well.
Look, man, if he's gonna tip you with information, you take what you can get, right?
Yes. Yeah, because I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with Aneil here. You're fine.
Because I guess if I knew, like, for
Just
example,
don't drop your cards. Get better.
Yeah, exactly. That's a skill issue. Because I feel like if I knew, like let's say like I hit like blitzle, like I know he's playing Pidgeot going into the round, and like I would pick like first or second turn on that. So I guess it's kind of similar to that.
Everyone was choosing Sag against me, but I just kept opening Charlie, so it didn't matter.
Nice.
So it didn't
Skill
matter.
diff. So,
Yeah, it's like if you're at a League Cup and you know the same guy's been playing Drago for 6 months, like you're gonna move differently, right? So
yeah.
that's on that guy. Out of curiosity, what sleeve brand was he using?
I have no idea.
Crazy.
See, it's where my endgame promotion comes in.
Bro.
Buy endgames, everyone. Don't slip your cards everywhere, please and thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I used endgame this weekend. I had deck check, no issues. Very good.
Clean, absolutely clean. The red is so fire, bro.
Oh yeah, the red is
love
really.
the
I
red.
still use lilac because like purple is my favorite color, but the reds pop. Like they're really nice. And then they have
they're
here. I have this doesn't have the branding on it, but they're making their matte ones. These are the prototypes I have, so these are gonna come.
Those are also really good.
Yeah, they're really good.
Those are really good.
So,
yeah,
go buy that.
out, baby. Go buy that. One thing we got to do, Ciaran, is start stocking bucket hats as well when we go to Divisionals. We had, so many people came up to me like, "Yo, do you have a bucket hat for me?" And I'm like, "Look, man, like I don't carry 10 pounds on my back willingly. Like y'all got to tell me these things." So I think we're gonna get some made and bring them. But bucket hats are always available down in the link below. If you guys have nothing else, we can give this time for Blitzle to kind of shout out his promos. Ciaran, you good with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, lay it on us. All your socials, all your streaming, everything.
That's crazy. I guess mainly on YouTube at Alloutblitzle. That's where most of my exploits are. It's Twitter at Alloutblitzle. Have coachings too if you want to get better at Pidgeot Control. Metafy, Alloutblitzle. Yeah, I guess I'm sponsored by the wonderful people at TC Evolutions, Blue Ditto. Definitely check them out. I got some cool discount codes. Saving money is wonderful. You should want to do that. Yeah, I guess a lot of people help with the lists. I guess, yeah, I don't really know who wants to be shouted out. So, the people know who they are. But,
sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you go on like any sort of website and you type in Alloutblitzle, that's probably his username.
Yeah, exactly.
There.
Alloutblitzle. So actually, before we go, why is your username Alloutblitzle?
That's true.
See, I don't know, honestly. Like I just kind of picked it. Like Gen 5 was like my first poke game.
Okay.
Blitzle's pretty chill, so I don't know.
Blitzle ever
it's not even my favorite. Nah.
No.
Well, like it's kind of weird because like in like football, like all out blitz is like a kind of play, right? But it's kind of a play on that. But
okay. Well, then you'll find solace in the fact that I was watching the Commanders game over your top 4. That's a tough one.
My Chiefs got the dub though, so that's what.
I know that was so sad.
That's pretty chill.
I was so depressed, man. I was
so rigged. I love it.
It felt just so foul. Like the game, just like you're watching it, and you're like, something stupid is gonna happen. And I understand we don't know if Josh Allen got that first down, but we know Josh Allen got that first down.
I think he did. As a Chiefs fan, I think he did.
Bro,
Yeah.
the one ref
And,
like
like-
literally marked it way past the line. The other guy's like, no, let's push it back. Like
He felt the Venmo go off in his pocket. He's like, yo, bring it back. We were at this bar with a bunch of Chiefs fans, and like they didn't even care because y'all have been doing that so often, like just like winning so much that these guys are like, hey, you know what? Maybe it'd be nice to lose for once.
No, there's no way they said that, bro.
Nah.
Yeah, feels nice. But yeah, the Bills are very much like the Toronto Maple Leafs, so that one really
No,
really
but the
hit
Bills
close
at
to
least go
home.
deep in the playoffs, man. Come on, that's an unfair
But
comparison.
they've never even won a they never win.
Yeah, but at least they get the opportunity to win, bro. The Leafs don't even get that.
Leafs got to round 2 a couple years ago. We got to round 2 in
Round
2004.
2? Come on, bro. Like that's not even the conference
The
championship.
NFL only has 3 rounds. So
Doesn't
it's
matter,
different.
bro.
It's not fair.
No, that's a disrespectful comparison to the Bills, bro. I gotta
This is
defend the
not a fair
Bills.
comparison. This is not a fair
I
comparison.
don't understand Canadian sports, so I don't have a take on this.
Well, we have Canadian football.
No, don't watch that. That is so
Okay,
bad.
Canadian football has some rules that I think are really awesome. Like the field is way longer, like wide, so like it's like more stuff happens. But yeah, 3 downs is kind of lame.
Canadian football it might be like the worst thing. I love
come
football,
on.
man. I cannot watch it. It is so
I remember seeing
bad.
like this like highlight clip on Twitter, like the dude missing the field goal and still winning the game for his team. And
Yeah.
like, bro, this
Well, you get a
sport's
point.
stupid.
No, but it's sick because what happens is if you kick it in a touchback is 1 point for the kicking team. So if you're the returner, you can
But
catch it.
you shouldn't be able to win the game off a missed
No,
kick.
okay, but
That's
get this,
so
get
dumb.
this, get this. If you catch
You
it in
shouldn't
the
be able
end
to be
zone,
wrong and win.
if you catch it in the end zone, you can punt it. So the receiving team can punt the ball out of the end zone to save it. Bro, trust me, like there's some
Bro.
insane rules that are actually kind of cool.
Bro, that's like if I'm playing soccer and I miss a penalty kick, but it goes through imaginary uprights
No,
above
no,
the
that's not
crossbar that give
comparable.
me 2 points.
'Cause
Like
the
it doesn't.
They give you
the-
they give you the participation trophy win. Like,
Okay,
that's
but,
Yeah.
but James, the end zone in the CFL is 30 yards. So like if you're actually like going all the way through the end zone, you actually kicked it really far.
okay. Just don't miss the
And
kick.
the uprights are also on the goal line, which allow people to run into them
Oh yeah,
whenever
that's
they want.
funny. Like when you're in the red zone, like yeah, if you do like a slant, like you can like run your defender off the goal line or a goal post. It's like really funny.
You just pick a guy into a goalpost. Like
Yeah.
it's just so dumb. It's so dumb, man.
It's fake.
But it's worth watching. I think it's worth watching just because of how different it is and how like weird it is. And like the 1 point rule is just
Yeah.
drives me absolutely insane.
Toronto is actually like our team is really good. They win the championship almost every year. It's just like there's so many sports in Toronto that people just don't care that much. But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Most people who care about football up here like the NFL and like
Yeah.
the ones who well, we actually have a really good soccer league coming up too. The Canadian Premier League's actually got some good legs. It's probably the same tier as Ciaran's Argentinian.
No, come on,
league.
bro. Are you serious?
I'm completely trolling. It is not at the same tier.
Yeah.
But it is getting better. There's a couple guys who play on the national team that came out from the CPL, so we're getting there slowly. All right, we can wrap this up then. Blitzle, thank you so much for coming on, man. This was fun. We had a great time. I like literally want to hop off and try Pidgeot Control after listening to you. So
Yay.
absolutely awesome. People know where to find you. Literally Alloutblitzle anywhere. Actually, I just made a connection in my head. Wasn't Grand Bull's attack called All Out? The one from
Yeah, and that
2017?
deck also played a blitzle,
Played
but that was
Blitzle.
totally. And I love Gramble, but that was not how the. That's
okay, I got
a
you, though.
coincidence. It's a coincidence.
The connection makes sense. The connection makes
Yes,
sense. I love
yes.
it. Ciaran, you got anything to shout out before we hop off?
No. I've been doing this like Metafy group where I do like weekly classes and I post like puzzles every week. So if you guys want to join that, it's been going really well. That's my shilling for the week. Go join that.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, no. Thanks for listening.
It's like subscribing to a newspaper just for the Sudoku. I love it.
Exactly.
All right, everyone go subscribe to Ciaran's puzzle contest thing. I'm sure it's great. We'll link it down below. All right, Blitzle, thanks again, bro. We appreciate y'all. Everyone who's listening, thank you. We'll see you next week. Peace
Later.
out.
Bye.